Good evening and welcome to the Southeast Tennessee Friday Night Pressbox podcast presented by Team FYN Sports. Coach Stone, it's game week. We are excited for game week, and let me tell you, we've got quite the show coming up. We've got Coach Cagle and Coach Moody from McMinn County and McMinn Central, respectively, and let me tell you, that's a big time game, Coach. You were able to coach in that game. What's that game kind of like, Coach Stone?
Well, I was able to play in it for 4 years, and then I was able to coach in it. It's you can't describe it. You can't describe it. I know 1 year we played at McMinn. I think it was my first year as a head coach. Getting to the field was just unbelievable. You couldn't get in this crowd, shoulder to shoulder and this, that, and the other. And another year over at McMinn Central. And I think this is why playing this game early, it's a rivalry, but, it has nothing to do with playoffs or anything like that. And, it just kind of gives you raise the hair on your arms, and you're ready to go, and everybody's ready for football, and it's a great experience.
Absolutely, and we've got one coach who's been a part of the rivalry for 14 years. We've got one coach that's this will be his first year, so we want to bring those guys on right now. We're going to bring on Coach Cagle from McMinn County and Coach Matt Moody from McMinn Central. First off, Coach Cagle, what's this rivalry been like? Obviously, well, thanks first for coming on and joining us. I know you're cooking back there on the big green egg, and you've got it made out there. But what's this rivalry like? It's a good time for the county, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part of it is, you got both sides of our county. These kids have grown up together. They played against each other in all kinds of sports their whole lives. It's fun for them to play a game. Really, and the most, the biggest thing, it doesn't mean anything when it's over. When our game's over, we win or lose, you go on about your business, and you're trying to make the playoffs, your perspective classification. But it's a lot of fun for the community, especially early in the year, and probably even more this year because of the way things went last year without getting to have all the fans at the game. So it's going to be it's just going to be a fun atmosphere. I know both teams really look forward to it coming into the first game of the year. You look forward to any game at the first game, but this one's extra special because it's an inter-county game.
Yeah, absolutely. And Coach Moody, this is going to be your first time in the Cross Creek rivalry. What are your expectations? What have you heard about the game, and just how fired up are you about it?
Yeah, it's actually my second. Really, I guess third. I was a graduate of McMinn County back in 2005 when we played the game then. And then actually Coach Cagle gave me my first job, I guess. He let me volunteer years ago. So I got a little bit, a taste of it then. But it echoed really a lot what he said. I think that everybody really is just excited to have football back, fans in the stands, and rivalry. Especially in-county rivalries are always fun for everybody. It's fun for the community. It's fun for the student bodies in both schools. And so we're just excited to be back really playing football.
It's first time on the good side of the creek, though. That's what matters.
First time.
I wasn't going to be biased, but
I think I played when Coach Stone was coaching. So
I believe so. I believe. I'm 91, so.
Well, I wasn't born yet then.
But I taught next to your granddad when I coached at McMinn.
Well, don't hold none of that against me.
Coach Cagle, just something real quick. You never really replace players. You just move on and you look for new pieces.
Yeah.
With that being said, losing a Jalen Hunt and a Bryce Goodner on the offensive line, that's tough. But you've got more pieces, and you can plug and play, can't you?
Well, yeah. No, not really. You change and play. I would say being a high school coach is totally different than any other level other than people below us. Is that you have to change what you do to fit the personnel that you have. You can't make a square peg fit a round hole. So year to year we change and do different things. We've gone from spread throwing the ball to wing T before, and just can't do the same things every year. You're not blessed with that. We had four seniors on our offensive line, and they were all pretty good. And especially with Bryce Goodner there, the big guy going to Virginia Tech. And then you've got, just an all-state player, Mr. Football finalist, Jalen Hunt. You just don't replace those guys. So, you come into the season and evaluate what you have, and then you fit the personnel with what you fit what you want to do with the personnel you've got. So we change year to year. We were blessed to have those guys for 3 years as starters. So we just built upon what we were doing for those times. And now it's time to change. We got to do different things. So it's just going to be something different this year. But it's a lot of fun. It's fun being a high school football coach and being able to do things like that.
No, absolutely. Coach Moody, you come in from Bradley Central, where a lot of good athletes. You run the spread offense. You come down there from being the offense coordinator at Central. These guys ran the wing T for 3 years. How tough was it to get not to get the guys to buy in, but to change the offense and to really get them to learn the offense? It was a quick transition.
Yeah. Well, from the beginning, it's been a process. And I think anytime there's change and a new coach comes in, there's a lot of new stuff you have to learn, not just probably with what you're running, but terminology. It's been brand new for the coaches as well, but we've all been pretty excited about the way these kids have worked, and they're having fun, it seems like. And, we've been fortunate enough to have some guys from other sports come out that hadn't played. So, it's like I said, it's been a long process. But I think, after the past couple of scrimmages that we've had, these guys are really starting to understand a little bit about, what we want to be offensively and defensively. So it's not just the offense that changes. We're kind of changing what we do defensively too. But the whole thing's been a process, but the guys have worked really hard. And like you said, they have bought in, and so we're excited about that.
That's good. Coach Stone, you got anything for either one of these guys?
Well, you already asked one that I wanted to ask Coach Cagle. How do you replace Jalen Hunt and Brian and Goodner?
You don't. It's a team. We've been very fortunate, and it's been very easy. The funny things that I talk about now, looking back, is we'd be 3rd and 17, and Coach Roberts would be on the headphones with me, and he'd say, "You want to get some of it back?" Because we knew we were going to go for it on 4th down, and I said, "Yeah, let's do it." And we'd run power and give it to Jalen Hunt, and he'd get 12 yards, and then it'd be 4th and 4. So you just can't do that anymore. You got to go other ways, and you got to figure out other ways to do things. We're just not going to be the same team. So the team changes with year to year, and we were fortunate enough to have those guys. They don't come around McMinn County very often, and but we've got to be smart as coaches, be able to use the players that we have and put them in the best situations, try to win games.
I ran into something what you were talking about a while ago. We had a running back come in to Copper Bay, and we were running the wing T, and it was between his freshman and sophomore year, and we were in spring practice, and he came in my office. He said, "Coach, can I talk to you?" And I said, "Sure." And he said he was our tailback, and he said, I can't run that wing T." He said, "I have to run sideways and then turn up in the hole." And I'm sitting there, and I said, "Well, Johnny, what are you trying to say to me?" And he said, "If I was back there in the I formation or split back or whatever," he said, "I think I could do pretty good." His sophomore year, he had 2,000 yards rushing, running the I formation. And you can't be stupid about it. You just can't keep hammering that square peg in the round hole. And you got to be flexible. And we changed right in the middle of spring practice and went to the eye so he could go back there and see.
Yep, and we've done that. Several years back, we went into first couple games of the year. We were in the spread trying to do spread zone and trying to run counter and those type things and RPOs. And we went into the Walker Valley game before that game, and we just sat down and said, "Hey, we can't do this." And so we put basically a fullback, a running back and a tailback. We were full house backfield in the shotgun, running power and stretch, and just getting after it. And changed our whole offense, and ended up winning several games that year. Because you just got to change at some point. If it ain't working, you just do whatever you can do to make it work. And those are things that's fun about coaching high school football, because you just don't, you don't have to stick with what you're doing, because you're not getting the players. Players come to you, and you got to deal with the hand you've been dealt.
That's true. Coach Moody, you guys, I said last week on our show you're going about as far in football from one perspective to another, from last year to this year. I mean, I did it. I did it as an offensive coordinator. Went from Georgia Tech offense, double wing, and we went to spread, but you're going about as far from one perspective to another in this year, and didn't even have spring practice.
Yeah.
Has it been hard?
Really, like I said, when we first came here and got here and kind of got on the board and saw these guys out on the field, we were very fortunate to have some guys come out that didn't play last year. So I think that really first and foremost, that's helped us a lot. Coach Cagle's right. I mean, we being at Bradley for the past 8 years, we're real familiar with, playing them every year. They do a really good job of doing what's best, for their program and the kids that they have. And, one thing's for sure is McMinn County is always going to be the same. They're going to be tough and hit you in the mouth and have hard-nosed kids and play hard, and they're coached well, and that's kind of what we're trying to get to here as well. Their schemes are a dime a dozen. You can look across the state, in college football, and the NFL, and everybody that's successful, you can look, they have a different scheme. I think the main thing is if the kids buy into what you're doing and they can execute what you're doing, I think you have a chance to be pretty successful, regardless of what scheme you run.
Absolutely. I watched the Central McMinn game last year, and I think Coach Cagle ran Hunt off right tackle about 17 times in a row there the first time they had the ball. And I thought, well, when are they going to throw the ball? But that's good.
What would you do?
He would have the ball. He would have the ball. But I played in this rivalry, and I always say this. We were worlds apart between Etowah, Inglewood, and Athens. We ran into Joey Grubb, Johnny Grubb, Hubert Simpson, all those guys. And but we always played the 10th game of the season. And, I always felt like as a player, play it, get it over with, and then get on with the season. Play it early. And, I felt like it was always a hard-hitting football game. And, you guys as coaches is just your toughest job right now is to keep the throttle down until that game starts.
Something I want to ask, not just one specific guy, but both guys. In the locker room, you don't have to say anything to get the boys fired up for this game. So how is it, in the locker room pregame? You don't want to get them too up, and you definitely don't have to say anything to get them up. So what's it like in the locker room pregame, Coach Cagle and Coach Moody?
Well, I mean, for us, it's not necessarily about McMinn Central. We had to play the game, especially this year. We're so young and inexperienced. We've got guys all over the place that hadn't played football before, hadn't played high school football. We've got some that hadn't played football before. And it's if we're mature enough to go into a game like this one and not worry about the other team, it's about what we do. And if we can execute and do the things that we're asked to do and play at a high level, that's what our focus should be. It shouldn't be on the other team. The scoreboard and the other team and the atmosphere and the fans, all those shouldn't affect how we play the game. So we've got to go in with the mindset of do your job, take care of ourselves, worry about black and gold and nothing. Everything else will take care of itself. And that's the main focus that I want our kids to have when they walk out on the field on Friday night.
Same thing for you, Coach Moody. What's it like?
Yeah, I think I totally agree with what Coach Cagle said. It's at this point in the season, or really any point in the season, it's about what we got to control, what we can control, and focus on what we can do. And I think that gives us the best chance to win. As far as atmosphere, in the locker room, every guy's different. They get motivated different, they focus different. So we just kind of let guys, be who they are there in the locker room. And for me, it's not about a bunch of rah-rah speech. Everybody at this point is fired up just to play football. So, we just want to make sure that we're prepared and focused on what we have to do, and we're ready to play.
That's great. And Coach Stone, anything else you got there?
I'm just looking forward to it.
It's going to be fun.
I don't care where they play, at the parking lot, wherever. I look forward to this game, and I got a lot of friends over there, coached over there 1 year, and went to Central and coached at Central, and I'm looking forward to this football game.
Coach Cagle, one thing before we let both of y'all go, and we'll let you all talk about your programs a little bit, just for final parting words. But one thing we talked about week one of the podcast, we're a first year podcast, but week one was when Coach Mullinax had passed away, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about Coach Mullinax.
Yeah, it's hard for me to talk about him, so give me some leeway. But as far as me playing for Coach Mullinax, what you see in McMinn County football, and what Coach Moody alluded to there, that we are going to be a team that is going to try to be the toughest team on the field every Friday night. That's not me. That is me in heart, because I was taught that by Coach Mullinax. Injuries didn't happen. You didn't lay down. You didn't show any weakness. You played hard. You never quit. That was written on our locker room, painted up there. You never quit. Doesn't matter what the scoreboard says, what the other person's doing to you. You never quit. And he taught me that, and his life showed that, because he'd never give up. He'd never quit. And for him to be able to live his life the way it was just an awesome thing. He would come in our locker room or in our office, and at least a couple times a week, he would never complain. He'd never moan about his situation. What he would do is walk in and ask me about my wife, my kids. He'd ask each coach how they were doing, talk about their families, and he would talk about them, and he'd never talk about us. It was always about someone else, and he always put everybody first. And for him to come around and end his career and his life, basically around McMinn football was just a special thing for me, for him to be around at the end, and right till the end. We talked. The last things he said to Coach Lockmiller on the way out the gate was, "I'll see you next week." And we never thought we wasn't going to see him again. So it's tough, but as you look back on his life, what a joy and what a great life that he has had, and what a legacy he has left at not only McMinn but several other places that he has stopped and made his presence known.
No, I appreciate you talking about Coach Mullinax there. We definitely highlighted that the first week of the podcast, and guys, we appreciate you coming on and joining us. Coach Moody, Coach Cagle, final, anything you want to talk about your program before you go?
But just for us, we're just excited to be back playing, with no restrictions, and have fans in the stands, and look forward to a great atmosphere and something great, just not for our kids, but really, our entire community.
Yep. Go Tribe.
Oh, well, guys, we like I said, we appreciate you coming on and talking about your players and the rivalry. And Friday night's going to be fun. We definitely look forward to it. So hopefully the rain stays away, and we'll have a good time.
Coach Moody, go get that field painted.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Them hamstrings will be wore out tomorrow night.
I hope they're done by the time I get out there.
Hey, I'm about to eat this chicken right here. So.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Relax.
If you'd have talked 5 more minutes, it'd have been burnt.
Yeah, that's right.
I shut her down, baby.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you coming on, and we're going to go to a quick commercial break. Right after this, we're going to highlight our second game, Polk County and Copper Basin.
Guys, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Good. I'm not going to say good luck. Have a great game.
Thank you, sir.
We'll be right back on Team FYN Sports Friday Night Press Box. Welcome back to the Friday Night Press Box, presented by Team FYN Sports. Wow, what a segment there, Coach Stone. It was good to have Coach Cagle and Coach Moody on.
I love that.
It was fantastic. Not just to have one guy, but both guys on. It was really nice to have. And going to move right along. Copper Basin, Polk County, just really a lot like McMinn Central, McMinn County, and those inter-county rivalries. And man, Copper Basin, last in the jamboree last week against McMinn Central, Sebastian Bilals looked really good running the football, and he's put on a few pounds, but he's really running the ball really well. And Copper Basin, they're going to have a gritty defense, kind of a bend don't break kind of defense. They're not going to make all the plays. They're not going to shut anybody out. But between Joe Boggs and Sebastian Bilals, they're going to be fun to watch. That game's going to be fun.
I felt last week in the jamboree they was probably in over their head just a little bit with McMinn Central and their athletes, and they hung in there well, 14-7, and I think they're gonna have another good football team up there.
Oh, I agree, and Polk County didn't look half bad either. They're going to run a wing tee, 3 yards, cloud of dust type offense, another bend don't break kind of defense. One thing I noticed from Polk County, they've got a really strong kicking game, really strong special teams. And in high school football, a good kicker and good special teams, a punter that can flip the field, especially in games kind of like this where possessions really do matter, especially when the offense is running a wing tee. That's really strong, and he was good. I saw him hit a 42-yard field goal, and if he's good from 42, it cleared. He could probably hit from 50 or so, and
in my time, I look back, I've had some very strong kickers. Back in 1982, we had a kid by the name of Keith Crouch. He was the number 1 kicker in America, or number 3 kicker in America. And unfortunately, he got injured in a car wreck. But, he was a straight-on kicker. But when we got to the 35-yard line, if it bogged down, we could kick a field goal. And, we didn't have to punt the ball. And then I had 2 twin brothers at Fannin County a few years ago, one left-footed, one right-footed. And, once you got inside the 35-yard line, you was good to go. As a matter of fact, we stayed in a ball game at East Hall kicking field goals. And, that'll keep you in a lot of ball games. Good defense in the kicking game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And something to point out, Sebastian Bilals, coming off of a good year last year, I really think he can build on that. Copper Basin's they're good up front, offensive line wise. Some big guys up there. If they can find a way to create some holes for Bilals, he's a heck of a runner.
He is. I saw that 2 or 3 times last year that I saw him play, and he is a heck of a runner, and he's a great game breaker. I mean, you get him the ball and he's able to go or liable to go at any given time and just break it and go. So I think he's going to be a big difference maker.
Oh, I do too. And Joe Boggs playing quarterback. That's he threw the ball some last week. He looked good throwing the ball. Wide receivers struggled some with drops. I think Joe Boggs is going to be, perfectly fine at quarterback. We talked about that a little bit last week, where he, he's going to have that gritty attitude. He's never going to come out. He's a really tough physical football player, and that's a good quality in the quarterback.
Well, his dad played for me at Copper Basin. And he was the same way. And we got in I think I told this story the other week. We got in a situation, we didn't have some good defensive end play. And Coach Mullinack said, well, who do you want to put over there? I was the defensive coordinator, and I said, Rusty Boggs. No, you're not getting him. I said, yeah, he will change our defense. And Joe will be the same way, and his brother Dylan was the same way. Played quarterback there, and linebacker, and was, they're just tough, gritty, hard-nosed people. So maybe Joe's more of a like his dad and brother, get it done, and not be real pretty about it.
Now, was this rivalry, Polk County and Copper Basin, was it real similar to McMinn County, McMinn Central? Really, you're friends off the field, and then you hated each other for 48 minutes, and then you go right back to being friends. And those inter county rivalries they tend to be like that.
No, it wasn't.
Really?
We had a national forest between us, and when I went there in 1982, Polk County had beaten Basin 17 straight years. I think maybe more. Maybe it's 19. And anyway, it was around that. And we had a very good football team, very deep, single A high school, 45 players. Speed, size, anything you wanted. And we snapped that streak that year. And, there just wasn't any, it's just kind of like, I don't like you and you don't like me. That was the kind of thing it was. I was talking a while ago about, McMinn Central. We had friends at McMinn County. We would go to Athens, go to the movies, this, that, and the other, and see each other. And so that's kind of the difference. They just don't come together very much. But I'm sure they're a little bit closer now than they were. But
than what it used to be. Is this game being played at Polk County or Copper Basin? I did not look at that. I should have. Let me look it up real quick. If I'm thinking right, I believe it's at Copper Basin.
Yeah, it is.
It is at Copper Basin this year. So we did talk about that inter-county, but you got to go through a national forest. How long is the drive in a bus up the mountain there?
You're probably talking about 30 minutes, and I know we had things that we did when we traveled to Benton. They had things, they'd stop up and throw rocks in the river and, kind of stretch their legs out, but it wasn't that big of a trip. It was just, it was a good, hard battle. And, Coach Davis, Coach Larry Davis, and Coach Mullinax, they two hard-nosed guys. their staff and players and our staff and players. That was the way we were.
That's good. Pleased to be joined now by Jeff Cate. Jeff had some prior arrangements he had to do for family, and hey, that's completely fine with us. We talked to Coach Cagle, Coach Moody, and man, they're excited, Jeff. And we're going over the Copper Basin Polk County game right now. Anything you'd like to add about Polk County and Copper Basin?
Well, first of all, guys, so the obvious, and what's the old saying goes, how life, well, that definitely applied today. So, but here now, ready for some high school football, and yeah, as far as this game right here, I mean, you talk about it's another rivalry that not many people in the area really know about, but it still matters to these two schools and these two communities, and I guess the big question is, how is Copper Basin going to replace, or move on from the quarterback Grabowski from last year? We got a little taste of that last year. We talked about that the first couple of shows after the injury, and kind of got a little glimpse into the future of this, last year. But now it's full speed ahead, a full season for Coach Grabowski and the Copper Basin offense. If they're able to kind of replicate what his son and that offense did his years there for Copper Basin. So, like you said, though, Coach Davis had some great years at Polk County. They struggled of late, but but it doesn't matter the records. Obviously, both teams, first game of the season, records do not matter. It wouldn't matter if it's week 1 or week 10. Records aren't going to matter in this game. They're still going to go at it hard, and looking forward to seeing who wins this matchup for sure on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to definitely be a great game, and the answer at quarterback is Joe Boggs. Joe Boggs is going to play quarterback. We talked about that just a minute ago, but Joe's going to be. I think he's going to be fine. I saw him in the jamboree up at Loudon when they played McMinn Central, and he throws the ball well. The receivers struggled a little bit with drops. He's going to be able to run the ball from the quarterback spot as well, and he's got a good running back to rely on in Sebastian Biles. So they Copper Basin's got.
Wesley, I was last year at the Copper Basin McMinn Central game. Joe had to come in, and that was a week after Grabowski got hurt, and until he suffered that elbow injury, he had that team going pretty good. And I mean, he didn't look like he hadn't played a whole lot of quarterback, for the first 4 or 5 games, whatever that was. But and that might have been the difference in the ball game, because I really felt like at halftime when he went out, that was tough. And when you coach at a place like Copper Basin, if Grabowski was the quarterback, Joe Boggs is over here doing something else, and he's playing defense too. And so he had to do a lot of things in a week, and he really did it well. And I think the hard part was when he went out of the football game at halftime.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, they did. Joe came in and he had that offense and that really the team rolling. Then after that injury, it was kind of find what you got to run the ball. They had to rely on Sebastian Biles pretty much heavily after that, and they got one dimensional, and Central kind of ran away with it there.
Well, that's nothing against any of the other quarterbacks. It's just the fact, how much work are you going to get? If I got Grabowski, Boggs is going to get a little work. Grabowski's going to get the other 95% of the work.
That's exactly right. And so Polk County and Copper Basin, that's obvious. That's going to be a fun one to watch. So so if you're not going to any other area games, you're not going to McMinn County, McMinn Central, you're not going to go to any of the Chattanooga area games, go ahead and drive up to Copper Basin and watch Polk County and Copper Basin. I'm glad, Jeff, you joined whenever you did, because we're going to highlight next. We're going to highlight East Hamilton and Ooltewah, and I know that's the Coca-Cola Red Zone game of the week down there for you all, if he's there.
It is, and both of these teams are in the incorporated area, that is Ooltewah, Tennessee. The zip code 37363 And so obviously, East Hamilton is a newer school compared to Ooltewah School. And I believe this will be, the 10th meeting all time between these two teams. They haven't met since the 2008 season. So a little delay in the quote unquote. It hasn't been much of a rivalry as far as wins and losses, because if you look at the overall series, East Hamilton has one victory in this series, and that was a 2013 second round playoff game at Ooltewah. So a lot of storylines here for sure. East Hamilton looking for their first win against Ooltewah during the regular at East Hamilton. So before, and obviously, and this is also the debut of Ooltewah football coach Goose Manning. So a lot of play here, and these teams have had some great. There've been some not so close games, but there've also been some classic finishes, including that East Hamilton playoff win where they scored with less than a minute to go on a 50, 60-yard touchdown reception with, like I said, with less than a minute to go to move on in the playoffs. And not a bad way to get your first win over your community rivals. So I know both sides will be paddled, and it should be a great atmosphere at what they call Hurricane Hill on Friday night. So I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Yes, we are. We're definitely looking forward to that. Before we really dive into to the football game between East Hamilton and Ooltewah, we're going to take one last commercial break. We'll be right back on Team FYN Sports, the Friday Night Press Box. Welcome back to the Friday Night Press Box, presented by Team FYN Sports. Joined now by Jeff Cate. Jeff had some technological problems earlier, but we got you on, and we're glad to have you. First things first, I got to experience my first Chattanooga area jamboree, and I got to stand right beside you most of the night. Man, we had a ball down there.
We sure did. Saw some good action on the field, and were able to kind of connect and talk to some of the people in the know, that is around the Chattanooga area as far as high school football. A few head coaches, and all in all, just a good night. It started with a good quarter with South Pittsburgh and Red Bank, and just continued through the night and kind of got our feet wet for what we're going to experience here on Friday night for sure.
Yeah, it's I had a great time, and I appreciate the hospitality that you had down there. First time meeting you, and I enjoyed myself, and
got you a pretty nice T-shirt there too. So
yeah, thanks to my guy at Jeff Cate, at the Jeff Cate there. So yeah, we unplanned matching there for us, but
that's hilarious.
It is funny. Me, you, and Coach Stone all have on white T-shirts tonight, so it's that's pretty funny.
And it's before Labor Day, so it's okay. So it's all good.
It's exactly right. So some good from the jamboree that I saw. South Pittsburgh's going to be good again. Offensively, they're going to be good. They ran the ball very effectively at the jamboree. Bradley Central is going to be good. They've got some deep threats on the outside. Red Bank's going to be just as advertised. They're going to be good. A team that really caught my eye. We kind of talked about this while we were up in the press box. Walker Valley. Walker Valley. They can throw the ball around, and they were a team that I came out of the night thinking this team can shock some people.
We talked about them the first couple of shows. They had and that's the thing. They're setting, they're creating new standards. Is the way I think Coach Akins is saying. They're not setting new records. They're creating new standards, and they definitely did that last year. It ran through the season, ending with that postseason win against Powell at home, their first home playoff win. And you talked about Bradley before that. That's a week 2 matchup that is going to be very, very intriguing. There's going to be plenty of offense on the field that night. And Walker Valley had a big lead in that game last year, and they and only to see Bradley Central make a second half comeback and win that game. So But like you said, South Pitt's going to be, they're going to win that region in 1A and probably make a deep run into the playoffs. And, as we saw them play Red Bank, you talked about Red Bank as well, causing that defensive turnover, the scoop and score to give them the deciding points in that quarter win over South Pittsburgh. They're definitely going to be as good as advertised. They're going to have a tough game against a team that Bradley Central knows very well, Cleveland, on Friday night. So, yeah, plenty of good football. And let's not forget about East Hamilton as well. There's a lot of good football that's going to be played here this season, but the first couple of weeks are going to have some very, very intriguing matchups, starting with a couple we're going to talk about here on Friday night.
Yep, and let's move right into those games. Ooltewah goes to East Hamilton, goes up Hurricane Hill there, like you mentioned earlier. That's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, and before the technical issues we had when I was in I'm going to call it the Cape Mobile studio in the car there, before I came back here, it's the first time, I believe, since the 2018 season that Ooltewah and East Hamilton have met on the football field. And, the Owls have a commanding lead in that series. The one lone East Hamilton win was back in the second round playoff, 26-19 win, I believe, in the 2012 or 13 season. So, like I mentioned, plenty of play for. There's a lot of storylines here. Coach Reynolds and the Hurricanes are looking for their first regular season win against Ooltewah, their first home victory against Ooltewah, and it's the debut for Coach Goose Manning, who is he hasn't been on the job very long, and but he's an Ooltewah guy, went to school there, he taught there, was an assistant there for many years, and he's getting his chance to lead the Owls. So we'll see how that goes. I heard you mention it is our Coca-Cola Red Zone game of the week, so me and my buddy Justin Sims will be on the scene to see that firsthand, but. They're calling it the Battle for White Oak Mountain. That's a mountain range in the Ooltewah area. So, both teams share the zip code, and it's going to be cool to see kind of, how both schools' communities come out for that game. But it should be a fun night for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be a good little matchup there. So Ooltewah under Goose Manning, the first-year head coach. I wasn't able to see them. I was only at the Jamboree on Saturday. What's Ooltewah bring to the table?
Well, I mean, it's going to kind of be able to see, what he brings offensively. He was the quarterback at Ooltewah when he was a student there. So, obviously offense is going to be a big emphasis for him. And, Ooltewah historically has had speed and athletes, on both sides of the ball. So I kind of want to see how the Ooltewah defense really, though, is able to game plan for, a guy that we saw, Jeremiah Flemings, at East Hamilton. We saw him in the backfield and, under center as well. So, he's a very, very good athlete, and a guy that Coach Grant Reynolds and the Hurricanes are going to rely on heavily, not just in this game against Ooltewah, but, in every other game during the season as well, especially with that new region they're in with Red Bank and Saudi Daisy, just to name a few. So, we'll definitely see what happens. And, I think, this series historically, there's been 2 or 3 close matchups, but the rest of them have been by double digits or more, more than 2 touchdowns. So we'll see if that trend continues or if it's another close Ooltewah East Hamilton matchup.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked this one for the Red Zone game of the week, because it's definitely worthy. Now, on the other side of town, another good game. Cleveland goes to Red Bank, and let me tell you, I was very impressed with Red Bank. They didn't even, they didn't play their ones very much on Saturday whenever I saw them, but they still were very impressive and put those key pieces back in there, and that's going to be a really good team in the Chattanooga area.
Oh, for sure. And the thing with Red Bank is, like we mentioned with, how they ended that quarter against South Pittsburgh, defense is going to be a thing that I know is going to be heavily emphasized. Yes, they have some great weapons offensively, but that scoop and score at the end of that quarter definitely shows you if you didn't know much about Red Bank and see them in the last few years since Coach Chris Brown's taken over. They fly to the football. They like to create turnovers and give their offense opportunities to take advantage of those. But, if they're scooping and scoring on those turnovers, then, that's something they don't have to worry about. But, this matchup's going to be a great one, too, because, you have a 4A team in Red Bank who's had a lot of success around here in the 3A. They're moving up to 4A this year. So taking on a 6A traditional powerhouse like Cleveland. We know the story about them, 3 state championships in a row back in the 90s. And, they have a culture and a history of winning. So, 4 state championships between these two teams. And this will be the first matchup, Wes, between these two since the 2012 season, which was a 41-7 victory for, let me see if I can find that real quick. I just lost my page there, for the Cleveland Blue Raiders. So, the last time these two teams met was back on September the 21st of 2012. Again, was a 41-7 Cleveland win over Red Bank. So, this game has been, almost 10 years in the making, and it's definitely a good thing to see. Both of these teams, willing to schedule each other. I'm sure it's a home and home for the next 2 years. So, whether you pick Ottawa, East Hamilton, or Cleveland Red Bank, be sure and get to one of these matchups because it's going to be a great time. And obviously with the COVID restrictions last year, the capacities were limited. We'll see kind of how those are, but it's going to be great to see. Those are going to be 2 great atmospheres between really 4 of the biggest supported programs in our area for sure.
Absolutely. And like I said about Ottawa, I wasn't able to watch Cleveland in the Jamboree. What are some pieces from Cleveland that you saw, to go up against Red Bank?
Yeah, I was actually not able to see Cleveland as well, so it's going to be kind of my first my taste it there. But I know Coach Wheeler and his staff are going to have those guys ready to play. I know like Tito Boyd was the guy they relied on heavily last year, so they like to pound the rock, and they'll sprinkle in some passes as well. So it's going to be fun to watch because I know that I know a few of their assistant coaches. We've had guys that have been at different schools around the area, so they're familiar with how what Red Bank is, and I know Coach Brown's going to be familiar with Cleveland as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I could see this being a defensive battle between these two teams, and probably like a 21-14 or 21-17 type game. It could be lower than that, so we'll see what happens on Friday night between those two.
I could see that happening as well. And
now on the flip side, defense may be tough to find at Hurricane Hill, so it could be a tale of an offensive battle at Ottawa East Hamilton, then your defensive battle with the Cleveland Red Bank. So watch me say that, and then be the complete opposite. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
That definitely could happen. But any other? I know there's already a COVID cancellation in the Chattanooga area, and that's Silverdale and who?
It was Silverdale and East Ridge, and I think I heard you guys kind of mention this before the technical issues we had, that the East Hamilton Ottawa game kind of got linked into that as well. So the kind of way that whole thing went down there, not a whole lot of double and triple checking sources there, but I saw Coach Grant Reynolds' responses on Twitter saying fake news, check your sources. Ottawa East Hamilton is on, so. But just like any other game, we're going to see some cancellations, and that's not to say it won't happen between now, between when this podcast airs and Friday night. But as of right now, Ottawa East Hamilton's a go, Cleveland Red Bank's a go. But yeah, like you said, that East Ridge Silverdale game has been postponed, I believe, to the 2nd or 3rd week in October. So they're going to get that game in, but it's not going to be quite when they wanted to. So I know that Silverdale, I think, was going to look for a game, but wasn't quite able to get the job done to find anybody that hasn't opened, as an opening, because most of your teams are playing week 1 anyway. So, I guess you kind of just chalk it up as another off week for the Seahawks in that regard. So,
who are they playing week 2? Do you know? Do you happen to know off the top of your head?
Let me see if I can find it real quick for you, Wes. I
think that could be beneficial. That extra week could help them for week 2.
Oh, for sure.
Extra, 2 days or so.
I mean, it's like you said, they probably been, game planning for the Pioneers, but, at the same time, like you said, if they can get any more fresh bodies, they're going to be hosting, it looks like Franklin Road Academy, according to Coach T, on August 27th. And then they have another home game against Chattanooga Christian on September the 3rd. So, a couple of interesting games there in Division II for the Seahawks. So just kind of looking at Franklin Road Academy's schedule from last year. Let's see, they went 1-6. So really, if you're looking, just comparing last year's teams to this year's, you can't do that obviously after the first couple of weeks. But looking on paper, I think you could definitely say Silverdale has a chance to win that game for sure. So, like you said, this will give them another opportunity to get more rest and kind of start game planning for Franklin Road Academy early on. So that's definitely a big thing for Coach Connor's Seahawks.
Absolutely. So outside of Ottawa, East Hamilton, Cleveland Red Bank, and then the COVID cancellation, what are some other games in the Chattanooga area that people should really pay attention to?
Well, let's just stay in Division II here. You know, the McCallie Blue Tornado are getting their season started. They're taking on the Chattanooga Christian Chargers, and you know, for Chattanooga Christian, they're a Division II AA school in the state of Tennessee, which is, you know, there's 3 private school classifications: Division II-A, Division II AA, and Division II AAA. And Division II AAA is usually like your McCallies, your Baylors, and your Innsworth type schools. And your AA's are what you see like with Silverdale and teams like Christian Academy in Knoxville and Chattanooga Christian. So CCS has been playing like Baylor's and the McCallies the last few years to kind of, you know, get that experience. And, you know, for Coach Mariakis, you know, they definitely showed out the Jamboree. You know, they had a couple of big plays on offense, and it's going to be tough to, you know, stop the McCallie Blue Tornado. You know, they're coming off another state championship for Coach Potter's team. So we'll see how they're able to compete with the Blue Tornado, because, you know, I know that Coach Potter is stressing, you know, 1 week at a time, but they have to be thinking that, hey, we got a big game at Calhoun, Georgia next week too. But, you know, they can't overlook CCS because they got a very good offense. They got a couple of good guys. Wallace is one of them who could break a run at any time. I think in one of those quarters that CCS had in the Jamboree, the first play from scrimmage was a touchdown. So, I mean, you know, they could score at will at any time, but McCallie should be strong. They're going to be one of the better teams in the area as well. So we'll see kind of how those two teams match up. And, you know, like I said, we'll see if McCallie's looking past CCS a little bit, looking ahead to Calhoun, but knowing Coach Potter's teams, I don't think that's going to be the case for sure.
Yeah, I think McCallie's a program that's been there, done that. I don't think that's going to happen. And I just don't foresee that, you know, that happening. But Jeff, football's here, and we've gone through the Jamboree, we've gone through the scrimmages. Now it's time to tee it up and kick it off under the lights. So it's we're ready for football, aren't we?
And of course, yeah, I'm excited about it. Obviously, I know you are with the big McMinn County, McMinn Central rivalry. I know that Coach Moody and Coach Cagle are going to, you know, have their teams ready to play, and just, you know, like you said, you know, we talked about these rivalries before, just what they bring out, not only in the communities, but in the players as well. And that's going to be fun to watch and keep an eye on. And, you know, like I mentioned with this Ottawa East Hamilton, I think it's going to be the same thing. You know, both teams share the same zip code, less than 10 miles away from each other. So it's going to be fun to watch too. And, you know, cannot wait to get it going here on Friday night. And just excited for another year of high school football. And it's here. Like you said, you know, I've mentioned the last 2 weeks, the journey through the desert is almost over, and the oasis is in front of us. And guys, we're 2 steps away. So we're right there for sure.
We can almost taste the water. And
it's going to be good, especially with how hot it's been. So I'm ready for it.
And we're hoping the water stays away. You know, hopefully no pop-up thunderstorms, no lightning delays. Man, I'm telling you, lightning delays they are terrible. Let me just tell you, lightning delays are terrible because it's 30 minutes for every strike. You could be there till 11 o'clock. Sometimes those games do not kick off till about 11 o'clock, and that is terrible.
Well, you know, we were talking about that South Pittsburgh Red Bank Jamboree matchup. That was 2 years in the making, because both of these teams had a home and home scheduled for the last 2 years. The first one back in 2019 was called because of weather. And like you said, the lightning strikes, there wasn't any rain that night. We were there that night for when South Pitt traveled to Red Bank, and, you know, no lightning. I mean, you could see lightning off in the distance, more like those electrical, you know, thunderstorms, as they say, but they counted those as lightning strikes. So every 30 minutes, they finally pulled the plug. And, you know, last year it was canceled because of the COVID thing. So, just like you said, weather delays are the worst, especially when you're doing a 3-hour live radio show like we're doing on Talk Radio 102.3 on Fridays. But, you know, I mean, that's just part of it. And, you know, like you said, let's just fingers crossed we can get off this Friday, get the wheels, you know, in motion without having too many, if any, delays for sure.
Absolutely. Get the wheels rolling. And hopefully those wheels don't stop. We can get through all the regular season games. We can get through all of the postseason games. we can go have us a party in Chattanooga at the Blue Cross Bowl.
That's right. Yeah, and you definitely saw the digs and kind of got a lay of the land. It's gonna be a great weekend that weekend. It was a great weekend last weekend. So just a great time for sure. And I think Chattanooga's ready. And they're not just ready to host the Blue Cross Bowl, but I think they're ready for high school football to get cranked up again. So anybody listening or watching this podcast, it doesn't matter where you go. Pick a school that you want to go see, whether it's your local school 5 minutes away or a matchup that you've been wanting to see for a long time, and not just go watch it, but go support those teams as well. Because the COVID thing last year, they didn't, those schools probably lost money, I'm sure, as well, from people not coming to the games as many as they normally are. So get out there, support the communities, and support those schools, because they definitely need it for sure.
Yeah, with football being the main moneymaker at most every school, and then only being allowed at times 30%, some schools got up to 50% capacity. They need that money. They need some revenue back in their football programs, back in the athletic funds. And a good way to do that is going and supporting these kids and watching good football. There's good football all across all across of Southeast Tennessee, and definitely go out and support the kids.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself, no doubt.
So that's been the Chattanooga area section of the show. We covered Ooltewah, East Hamilton, Cleveland, Red Bank, some other good games there, and we're definitely looking forward to it. So, Jeff, I appreciate you coming on despite the technical difficulties, and we'll just plug this little segment in there, and I think it'll flow pretty good.
I think so too, and we'll be back ready to go at the K to State full time next week for sure.
Absolutely, no more Jeff Mobile appearances for you, huh?
The Jeff Kate Mobile Command Center will only be on Friday nights on the Red Zone from now on out for sure, because I can actually call instead of doing streaming, so it's all good.
Okay. There we go. All right. Well, we appreciate you tuning in. So that's been the Friday Night Press Box presented by Team FYN Sports. Thanks for listening, guys.